Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and roll forward. So we'll call this meeting of August 20th of the HPC to order. For those in attendance, feel free to grab an agenda, which is sitting on one of the chairs in the back of the room there. Please make note of the information at the bottom of that agenda that states the purpose of the HPC and the reason we're here today. And with that being said, we will move to an approval of the consent agenda for the previous meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion regarding that? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. We will move on to the next item, which is new business. And when we call your name or property forward, if you would come up to the table, state your name and address of residency, and then if you would please address the nature of your project, and we will do our best to try and get this running. Otherwise, we have most of the information here on our iPads. If you'll give us a moment to flip to it, I would appreciate it. First up, we have 1815 Rivermont Avenue. If there's a representative, please come forward and provide the information as requested.
Good afternoon. My name is Purcell Conway, and I'm representing 1815 Rivermont Avenue. And I'm requesting the replacement of a wooden fence. You don't have the photos or?
We're having technical
Okay.
difficulties right now, so
All
we're
right.
trying to get it up there.
But they all have it on there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
Appears to
Okay.
be a wooden stockade-style fence that's severely deteriorated.
Yes.
Okay.
And you're replacing it with a flat board style that was submitted for
Right.
the application.
Pressure-treated
Yes.
pine, okay. We can open that for discussion if anyone would like to ask any questions
So
of the
you're replacing it
applicant.
with a different type, 6-foot height?
Yes, in the research, in the information that was presented to me, it indicated that the current fence is not acceptable, so I upgraded it to this particular one.
And you're replacing it just where this existing one is currently?
Yes.
I move,
291 feet.
what's that?
291 feet.
291 feet worth.
I move that it be approved as submitted?
Second.
Any discussion regarding the replacement of the fence?
Wait a minute. What about painting? Is it going to be left natural, stained, painted?
Yes, yes, it's going to be left
Natural?
yes.
Just like
It's
it
pressure
is.
treated, so it should,
Excellent. All right, unless there's any further discussion, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? We may
Okay.
fence away.
all right,
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming in.
all right, thank you.
Just very instructive.
All right, let's see here. Next item. Bear with me one quick moment.
Well,
Next item we have appears to be 2212 Rivermont Avenue. Hello.
Hi, Emily Nasser.
Excellent. Welcome. If you would just give us a brief rundown of the nature of your COA?
Yeah, we're looking to put a fence around our front porch or like a little railing. With her, we can't use our front porch because it's at least a foot drop off of it.
Sure.
We're gonna do it with wood and then white paint.
Okay. Excellent.
Now, you
Hearing
gave an
none,
example of a
application.
house. We open for discussion?
Yes, open for discussion, yes.
I actually gave out examples to help.
Yes.
Mhm.
Who did?
I did, I
Oh,
pulled it.
you did. Okay. So is there something you're modeling it after, since,
No, not really. He liked the, doing a design of like the top and railing and then like the crisscross across it, because she won't be able to
all right, well, there's
fit
two.
anything through it.
Ann, did you give both of those examples? On Madison also?
No, only the one, Lake Street, I think.
I would say that in theory, it's okay. I think we would pass that, but we would need to have a scale drawing of exactly what you're doing.
It would be like the example I provided.
Which was this one.
Yeah, that one.
This one here.
Here we go, let's go this way. I'm sorry, something isn't working.
Come on, dude. Where is it?
I can't get to my stupid thing. Okay, and that's fine, but that is probably different scale or different proportions, dimensions than yours. In other words, is yours gonna have two posts like that?
Yes. Our front porch is basically around that same length.
The
We
same
have the
size.
3 poles at the beginning of the front porch steps on each side of it.
What is this address?
2212 Rivermont.
2212.
Mhm.
You have anything to say?
Don't know that property off the top of my head.
I did see it, I mean,
Here.
this is one of these things that there's really no precedent for this.
Mhm.
Technically, there's no historical evidence of anything that was there, ever?
No, the last owner redid the porch, but they never put anything up
Uh-huh.
to kind of block it. And it's a pretty steep fall
Sure.
from
There
our
doesn't
front.
appear to be any mounting brackets of any kind in the
No.
anchor.
What looks
anchor
original
points
to
or
the house
anything.
is only the front porch railing, which is, I think, metal.
Right, which goes
Down the
stairs,
staircase.
right.
And we don't have a picture of the existing house?
Right here.
Got it.
That's it, right there.
Okay.
And the black drawing marks
Yeah.
are representation of,
There was
That
also
they intend to
a
attract
larger
you.
picture of the house included as well.
So is that
Maybe
it?
page 8.
This, whoops.
Yeah,
yeah, right there. So would you,
there.
What should they refer to?
This one.
That thing?
Yeah.
yeah. Looking like this, but down here currently there's a smaller one already and they just want to bring it out and back over. So that same design, I guess.
Okay, so these two are a little different. So which one would you like to go with? The one on Madison or the one on Rivermont?
The one that they submitted, so I added those extra examples because the guidelines didn't have
Oh.
anything
Oh, what did they
from
submit?
Georgian.
This one,
So they want the one,
I guess this
this,
one.
this black and white one.
This one, right? Yep. Just like that.
Okay. And what is that address?
I don't know.
That is on the Isabel other side of Riverside Park
Mhm.
entrance, the old entrance, the big brick house that's tucked up into the bushes
Mhm.
that you can't see from the road very well.
Right on the corner, yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the drive from the Quaker Lane.
Yeah, where you're going back to the Claire house.
Technically,
Stop.
if you went by the Secretary of the Interior standards, we don't like to
Oh my God, Isabella.
make something look like a false sense of history, but in this particular case, it is at our discretion.
Mhm.
I think it does look nice.
Yeah.
So I would move that it be approved as submitted with the stipulation that it does follow the black and white photo that you presented to this committee.
Yes.
So it would have one post in the center. What is it that you would be concerned about? Like the actual design?
That is the same height and proportions.
Height,
Right.
okay.
Coming off the post, off the main post.
Yeah, in other
one
words-
post in the middle.
if it had, do you want to say something? You-
Well, my only question would be, in terms of height, I mean, in
Oh,
theory.
that's right.
If it's more than 30 inches from the porch down to the ground.
Well, it isn't. It isn't.
It doesn't look that, so you could, yeah, if it's more than 30 inches, the code wants 42 inches of height
Of railing,
to,
right.
of the railing, a guard, so that you don't, so she won't fall off or somebody
Yeah.
climb over. And I don't know if that's gonna be a inspections issue in terms
Well,
of
it shouldn't if it's less than 30
that height.
inches.
Right.
So you may want to check with the building department, though.
Okay.
So that means, by approving this, that you have to have the same thickness material also. In other words, if they have a 2x2 that is actually 2 inches by 2 inches, you can't get a 2x2 that's 1.5 inches wide by 1.5 inches. It has to match this one.
Okay.
Since you have no drawing, all we have is this. So it has to match it pretty much to a T. Okay. So, you want a second?
And she has to
Oh,
approve everything.
second.
We have a first and second. Any further discussion on it? Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, you are ready to go.
Thank you
Thank you so
much.
much. Absolutely, thank you.
Very good.
My 14-month-old would not.
Yeah. I don't think my 4-year-old would be that good. Next up, we have 2950 Rivermont Avenue. Hello there.
I'm Leighton Robertson. We moved in here 2 months ago, and I sent in some pictures. That's the one I've got in my hand. The decking's all rotted, and it was covered with indoor-outdoor green carpet. I'm sure it's been on there since Rudy Davidson and Buck Campbell built these buildings, but it's no longer there. We took it up. But as you can see, it's rotted out. This part here, I don't know who put that in, but we want to cover it just with the deck.
You can extend the
It
deck
was-
all the way out.
It'll certainly be safer than this is, because this does have a drop. And it would just come out flat. The condo association said they have no problem with it. And whoever I talked with at the city at the time said they didn't have a problem, but they referred me to Ann for the Historical Society.
Doesn't have a problem, you just gotta get approval.
So that's what we want to do.
Any
And you said you were putting a
discussion,
fence and a gate?
questions?
Excuse me?
You said you were putting a fence and a gate?
Yeah, well, you know, if you have a deck, I think you're supposed to have a railing around it.
So that rail would match the existing rails in the condo
They
association?
are not.
Well, there are railings there.
They own a screen porch though.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're solid underneath, and all that was rotted out.
Right, but what I'm saying is if you're putting a gate and a fence, I would
Well,
think.
it's a
that-
railing, it's not a fence.
Well, a rail.
It'll be on the deck.
Right.
It'll be part of the deck, you know.
Is that necessary for something that's only a few
You need
inches
a
high?
gate to get out off the porch.
Well, I guess my point is, if you're putting a rail and a gate, I would assume that the condo association would have to approve whatever you're putting there.
They've already told us they're fine with it.
But in what style?
They said we could do whatever we wanted, so long as we stayed within the property line. And it suited the city, and then it suited the Historical Society, is what we found out after I called the city.
Okay, well, it's visible from the street, but barely visible. Are you putting a privacy fence so you can't
Excuse-
see in, or just a rail
Not just the railing on, around the deck.
with,
You know, however high they are, 32 inches or something. And that's all. But you gotta have a way to get it on and off of it, so you have to have a gate.
right.
So-
I'm not arguing that, I'm just trying to determine what kind of fence, because we have no visual of that.
Well, what most decks have is the deck and 2x2 going up this way, and
All
a
right.
top railing on top. It'll be select pressure-treated wood, unless you want something else.
Just a standard fence panel is what it sounds like, or railing panel. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, the building's not historic, the building's rather 1970-ish, I guess.
Right.
Have you been over there? I would move to approve it as submitted with the caveat that the fence, or the
Railing.
rail and pickets be similar in style to the rest of the rail and pickets in the condominium association.
Well, see, the rest of them are screen porches.
Right, but there's still rails. There's still
No
rails.
railing, no.
Yeah, there's rails there. I went by.
No, they're solid on the bottom, they're solid.
Well, yeah, but there were some with rails. There were some solid, and there were rails all over the place. They're on porches,
here.
they're all
Not
over.
here, there are no railings, they got
Well, they're nothing
stanchions that go from
fancy.
here to the second floor. But they're gone.
There are rails, there were railings in that condominium complex. So if you just follow those, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Second.
Okay?
Any further discussion, questions regarding the COA? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
None opposed? You're ready to go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, is that all we need? We can just go ahead and get Chris going and start on construction?
Yes, sir.
Okey-doke.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
yes, sir.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
Let's see, next item, if I can get my
1,
iPad
2,
going
3,
here.
Cavill.
Yes, 123 Cavill Street.
123 Cowell Street. That's me, Victor Appel. Bought it foreclosure last December. When the plaster started coming apart, we started working on it, went to stud. This is an example of one of the window trimmings. It broke apart just trying to get it here. So it's, that's typical of all 27 windows in this place.
Is everything in there?
So we're proposing to install a wood window, very similar style. But because of the building code, this used to have lead weight, counterweights. But the building code requires all the headers and framing, so none of that can be used either. So even if I were to completely rebuild these, I'd have to put all new mechanisms in as well. So that's crazy. That's a lot of work. So I'd like to get double paned windows that have the same wood, same style and look, without the issue of having holes and seams that are rotted and all kinds of new mechanisms fit in there.
Sure.
So that's my request.
Thank you for that. Do we have some discussion regarding the
Yes.
COA?
Yes. I'd been to your house when you had this on the agenda a month or two ago. All the mechanisms that are missing because your carpenter or your contractor took them out. And these windows are very repairable. Now, that's an exception to the rule. I saw nothing as bad as that. But I told him then, and I'll say it again, these windows are very repairable. I went through that whole house with him. I even showed him how to take the paint off, how to clean them, and how to repair them. I told him also that the windows in the back and on the side that is not visible from the street, you can put these windows in, but the rest of them, they're all repairable. And unfortunately, he did take all the mechanisms out and put headers across, but that was something he did.
He was told by the building inspector that that was required,
Well, if you kept the windows the way they were, that wasn't required.
but the windows weren't even
I
square.
mean, even so, that wouldn't affect the mechanisms anyway. But, you know, he took out all the, you know, when you say mechanisms, we're talking about the weights.
The counterweights,
And the
yeah.
pulleys and all that.
Because they had to put cider boards.
And I think that can all be
to
put back.
frame the window.
Yeah, that can all be put back, and, you know, they make parts to all those, but there's nothing wrong with the window. With this window per se, as a replacement window, perfectly fine. if you need to replace them. The problem here is, I didn't see where you needed to replace them. I've seen windows much worse than yours that have been repaired. So in my estimation, the front and side of your house, hey, that's an exception to the rule. I saw
That's
nothing, they're not like that. I saw the windows. They're all repairable.
When
I mean, I don't say
When
all
I
of
took
them.
ownership,
won't
I
say all
went
of
in
them.
there with expanding foam to try and help seal up, to keep the bugs and the rodents out of the place. Because there were some, I could reach out a couple of the sashes that were just rotted completely away.
And you may have, what is that anyway? Is that a?
That's a
is that
bottom
sill?
sash.
Is that a rail? What is
No,
that?
that's one of the windows, the bottom sash.
Okay.
They had
I'm not denying
they
that
had multiple
that's not-
bathrooms in there with no treatment around the wood.
What side of the house is that one from?
This is one of the sides of the
Sides,
house.
yeah.
Yeah. And I
there's
showed
also in
him,
the front of the house, it
And
was
there are
like this
9
too.
windows on the front of the house is what it
9?
appears to be, is that right?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 windows on the front.
There must be one on the side that I can't see in the front of me over here. Right over here. Mm-hmm, that's it.
There's also, the side of the house is completely visible from B Street, so all those windows are visible. So we're talking 27 of the 29 windows that are visible from the street. I would rather have them quality wood that'll help with the insulation, help with noise mitigation.
they are quality wood right now. There's
Not
no.
now what's there.
There
What's
is,
there
there
is
is.
rotted away.
I believe, if I remember correctly, those are all mahogany windows in that house.
They're all rotted away, none of them are square. They're gonna
Sir,
have to be completely.
I'm sorry, I've been there, and I have to
remade.
I respectfully disagree with you, but I've been there. I've seen the windows, they are repairable.
Yeah, if you wanna rebuild them completely from the ground up. And
Well,
that-
yes, that's sometimes what it takes to do some of these windows. Sometimes you have to rebuild them. There are people that rebuild and repair these windows. There
And
are
I'm not gonna
contractors who do
spend
that.
that kind of money.
Now, that would not be repairable, but he could take a bottom sash and he could build you a new bottom
With the
sash.
two sides, the whole window is this way. The entire window is this way.
Well, sir,
in
then
multiple
that
locations.
particular
That one
window can be
obviously,
replaced.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that if you have a window that bad, it can't be replaced. The windows I saw, and that was every window in the front of the house, if I'm not
But
mistaken,
I would
was
like to
fine.
just go in and have a uniform look on my house so that it looks the same and looks clean. It doesn't look like this hodgepodge of,
Sir, we
mixed
can only
windows.
go by the guidelines.
I
That's what we
understand
go
that.
by.
and
And
I'm
the
telling you that
guidelines say if they are repairable, we can
repairable.
repair them. They need to be repaired.
there's a difference between repair and completely rebuild. And that's what you're saying. You're saying
No, I'm not,
rebuild the
sir.
windows.
I am not saying that.
You're saying custom make sashes across the bottom, custom do the pulley systems because building codes required my framer to put frames on the sides, eliminating all of the counterweights. So
A header
I
has
am
no-
talking about a
A
significant
header has
amount of
nothing to do
money.
with the counterweights. The reason.
Not
he
the head
took
of the
this-
sideboards, because
The
none of the windows
reason
were
he took-
square.
The reason he took the weights out is because he put jacks in there for the header. He could have put the jacks on the other side and put a longer header. But he put them in the pockets where the weights go.
Because he didn't want to cut through the structural members going up the sides of the house that were supporting the next level up.
There was another way, he did, look,
No.
these windows are repairable. I move that this application not be approved as submitted.
Then my choice would be to just nail the window shut, forego
Is there,
your committee.
There are contractors, I've given you, I actually gave your subcontractor, contractors who repair windows. There's one in Lynchburg, there's one in Danville, and there's one in Greensboro. There's
I
three
can't
people
afford that kind of
totally
money
re-
on this house.
It's probably cheaper, I'm sure it is cheaper to do that than it is new windows.
I've had
now.
price on repairing these windows, and it's $2,000 a window
for repairing?
for repairing the
Rebuilding.
windows. That is the average estimate that I've gotten is $2,000 a window.
Well, that may be because you tore all the parts out of it. But you
Whatever
know-
the case may be, that is where I'm at today.
Well,
It's $700 to put this window in, or $2,000. If I don't get approved, I'm gonna nail the window shut, thank the board for their time, and I'll put these windows in downstream, or I'll put in something else.
You can put those windows in where they're not visible from the street.
That does not help me. I need the windows in the front on the street,
Okay.
because that is where all the window frames are crooked. We've lifted the roof on some parts of this house 4 inches because of internal fire damage. Rotting on bathroom windows because they did no sealing. I've had to rebuild framing all around all the windows because they've been rotted out. When we bought the place, there was plastic over every window because water was coming in. So, I mean, that's just rotted through and through. It might have looked nice. This didn't look that bad till it came apart. So I'm just telling you that you might have, I'm not disregarding your opinion, but you might not have realized just how bad the damage was.
I've seen damage, sir. This is what I do for a living.
Great.
I've seen windows much, much worse than this, than these windows. that
And
have
I'm not
been
willing to
repaired.
spend that times 29 to
Well-
repair these windows.
Commissioner
we,
Lucy,
uh,
Commissioner Rowe, do you have any comment?
Oh, I'm wondering, can we table this? I'd like to go in the house and see the windows. Have you been in there?
I have not been inside myself.
But you haven't? Can we do that?
So
Ann?
there's a motion on the table to deny right now, so you could make an amendment to that motion.
I
if-
will amend my
If Commissioner
motion.
Morris would accept it, yeah.
I would amend my motion that we table this till next meeting and that the board have a chance to view the windows inside this house
Second?
And meet with the
and meet with
the
homeowner or the
individual or the
contractor.
contractor who's
Yeah.
proposing the
If
work.
you could be there,
That
if
would
we
be
let
great.
you know when we're coming and.
Yep.
Yep.
If I'm not there, my wife would be, but
Okay,
I
that's,
work in Roanoke, but I would make the drive back to,
okay. Or if your contractor is there as well, that's
they're there Monday to
all the
Friday.
time, probably.
Monday through Thursday, they're there.
Excellent.
Just as a reminder to the commission, only 2 may meet at a time.
Right.
So it might need to be timed a little bit, staggered, if everybody is gonna go visit.
Sure.
Well, if everyone went together, what would that would constitute
A public meeting, and we would need to advertise and take minutes.
Yeah, no,
So how many can go at a time? 2?
2.
2. All right. Okay, so did you second that?
Second.
Okay, perfect. Then, all the, or any further discussion, do you have discussion on the matter?
That's good.
Very good. So we will vote, all those in favor of tabling to the next meeting and taking field trips to see the property. All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
And opposed, that's what we'll do to get to the bottom of that.
Okay.
So we'll take care of it.
Can, Ann, will you be coordinating? Can
sorry?
you coordinate with the homeowner and us as to a couple of us at a time going out?
Yes, I know I have Carrie's contact information, I'm not sure if I
That'll
have
work.
yours. Okay. I'm happy to give you my card as well if you want to just send me an email with your contact.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. Okay, we can move on to the next item, which appears to be 3400 Rivermont Avenue. How are you, sir? Excellent, thank you. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Steve Aiello, 3400 Rivermont Avenue. Purchased the house a year ago. The windows, I thought were in pretty awful shape, leaking, cold. Some of them don't, a lot of them don't work very well. Richard Morris came out, spent about an hour with me, went through the whole thing, and kind of showed me that they really weren't as bad as I thought they were, that storm windows were permissible, and I was able to put some windows on the back. I have a porch that only has storm windows, and so it's only usable a few months out of the year because it's either extremely hot or extremely cold. And he said it wouldn't be a problem putting real windows in there. So I did not want to withdraw the application. I really appreciated Mr. Morris's time and his expertise. I did put a deposit down on renewal by Anderson Windows, 37 of them, very expensive project, very, very expensive. So I wanted to go ahead and have you approve or disapprove, so I could then go back and have the contract rewritten or canceled completely.
Okay.
I hope I said
So
that
what are you
right.
trying to get approved with this one?
I would like to get storm windows and the storm windows installed that are missing, which is all across the front, 3 or 4 on the side, 2 on the back, 2 or 3 on the back, and to get some windows repaired. Actually, I don't think that needs to be approved, but I've already,
So if I'm understanding correctly, what Mr. Aiello is asking is for you guys to either approve or disapprove the original application, so that he can go back and renegotiate his contract. And then I can actually approve administratively the addition of storm windows, and repairs that are in kind.
But there were
But that will be a
windows,
separate application.
there were windows that he wanted to replace on that porch area, which would be fine.
Okay.
because it's not really a replacement, there are only storm windows there. And I
Right,
want the storm
that's right.
windows removed and real windows, similar to that put in.
You might want to parse out the portion of the application you wish to approve and the portion you might wish to deny.
Okay. How would you do this? So you have to deny it, but then approve on top of it?
Approve a portion of it.
Okay.
You're approving the storm
It's
windows,
denied
I
as
assume.
submitted, however.
I move to approve a portion of your application. And that is all the windows in your porch, which are currently storm windows, can be replaced. Any window in the rear of your house or on the right-hand side of your house where it is not visible from the street can be replaced. All other windows cannot be replaced, but must be repaired.
Okay.
Second.
If salvageable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all salvageable.
Okay.
I thought you determined that the windows on the right side of the house were visible from Rivermont coming up.
Did I?
I just
So
want
it's
to make
just
sure
the rear
that that's
then?
not.
I would just leave it the way it is, use your better judgment. I know there was a big tree there. They might have been partially visible, but I think if you use your better judgment, those were lacking storm windows, if I remember correctly.
One of them was.
Yeah.
And there
I
are 2 on the
think-
back that are,
We'll leave it the way it is.
okay.
Okay. Do we have a sec? I think I heard a second.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Do you have any? I don't believe I have any questions. All those in favor of approving the motion?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed. Mr. Aiello, it looks like you're good to go.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you,
time.
sir. Let's see, I believe next on my list is 1018 Rivermont Avenue.
2910.
I'm mistaken, where's 2910? Oh, what was that, 3400 we just did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, we've got a
It
lot
jumped ahead of me
of
on
windows
its own.
Rivermont Avenue today.
Okay, 2910 Rivermont Avenue, please. Sir? Please, for the record, state your name and address.
My name is Marcus Neal, 1909 Salem Road, Spout Spring, Virginia, 24593.
Excellent, thank you very much. And the nature of the work in regard to the COA at this property?
Replacing the windows at 210 Rivermont Avenue, it's an apartment complex. It would be Unit 302.
2910.
Yes, I'm sorry, 2910 Rivermont Avenue.
It's just the one unit.
Just the one unit?
Just the one
Okay.
unit. This owner is, I'm actually here on behalf of David Summers. He owns 3 units up there, and he's going to start with this one if it is possible, and then do all the rest of them as well. The other owners said they will also follow suit for replacing. A majority of the windows are on the back of the building, as you can see from the pictures, and that's mainly what I'll be quoting for them. That's the front of the building facing Rivermont Avenue. That is the back right there in that picture.
Is 302 exclusively on the back, or do these units go all the way through the building?
It goes through the building, so there are some on the front as well.
But the ones you're proposing for replacement are in the back.
That's correct.
And these are vinyl replacement?
They are vinyl replacement windows without any grids in them.
You're only replacing windows on the rear of the building, not in the
That's,
front.
that's correct.
I know that 302 runs through, but
That's correct. It's mainly on the back, and from what I understand, it's not possible to do them on the front.
Vinyl windows will generally not be approved. It's right in the guidelines.
Is that a vinyl window?
No, it's
No.
aluminum clad.
Aluminum clad? So have you seen the pictures before and after of what they look like?
yeah.
Those?
Yes. Yeah, of a vinyl replacement window. I've shown a couple of pictures that kind of show the same type of install of what it would look like. The problem they're having now is that a lot of these windows won't open or shut. They are very badly damaged, and of course, they're covered in lead paint. So that is the reason for putting in the new ones. That would help with a lot of that.
I would say that vinyl, we can approve, aluminum clad, we could approve, but I think this is the same situation as the last one, well, not the last one, but that one, the one before that, if you're requesting replacement, we'd have to view them to determine whether or not they are repairable.
All right, is that possible?
Yes, we can table this to next meeting. And if you do have a clad window, you might want to propose that for the next meeting. Just read the guidelines. You can get the guidelines, I guess, online, right? And you can see, there's a section just for windows, so you can see what we'd approve and what we wouldn't approve.
Right.
Exactly.
So I move that this be tabled so that the committee would have the opportunity to view the windows to determine whether or not they are repairable.
Second.
I'll coordinate scheduling with you.
All right, that certainly works.
Now, I'll pose this if he, if they chose to just immediately go to a clad replacement as opposed to repairing, is that possible? Just so they have option?
If they do need to be replaced, then, yeah, we would go to it. You'd have to present us basically a window like that, a clad, aluminum clad window as opposed to a vinyl window. It has to have the same profile. In other words, a lot of these vinyl windows are just flush. Whereas that one, you've got an upper sash, a lower sash behind it, you have shadow lines. This has well, you said there's no divider light in these windows, correct?
Would you like to see it?
Sure. Are there divider lights in the existing?
And we can also use, yeah, we can also use divider lights as well.
Yes.
A white vinyl window.
Yeah, see, the problem with that is that whole profile, I can just tell by looking at it, that sash is a lot thicker probably than what's there. If there were muttons, those are a lot thicker, but,
These are on the exterior of the glass to
well,
simulate it.
but you're not doing any of those anyway, right?
Not at this property.
Right.
But in the future, possibly, we would be doing that.
Yeah, in other words, you'd have to come in here and say, look, our sash in this building is 1.5 inches. This sash is 1.5 inches. You know, it has to match it. It has to look, just like that window, pretty much does match, just like you probably heard what I said to him. If his windows needed to be replaced, that's probably a good replacement windows. Geldwin makes replacement windows that are approved for historic neighborhoods. Pella does, Anderson does. I'm not sure what your company, if they do or not. Excuse me?
Window World.
Window World. So, Geldwin is a perfect sample to go to. But the point is, vinyl is not, is that the only, do you have clad, or you just sell vinyl?
Pure vinyl, everything that we sell.
Oh.
The saying is, wood is good, but vinyl is final.
Well,
But in terms of the National Park Service and the Virginia Department of Historic Resources, in historic districts, vinyl's not gonna fly.
Yeah.
is what it boils down to. It's just simply not allowed.
Even on the back of the home.
That is questionable. That's, I
Yes.
don't know.
I mean, that's where a majority of these are on the back of this
Yeah.
building, that's why.
Do we still have jurisdiction in the back of the buildings?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess not. I'm really sorry. I mean, I know it's probably a big contract for you, but, yeah.
Not even on the back of the building then.
It's up to you guys to interpret the guidelines. The guidelines
Well, it
do
says no
apply
vinyl.
to all sides of the building, whether or not they're visible from
Right,
the
whether it's
street.
visible from the street or not is up to our discretion, if you will.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't see the point why would he want to do that in the whole back of the building, because then the building wouldn't be consistent. I mean, if he wants to be consistent, he needs to be consistent with all the windows.
On the back of the building, they would then have the benefit of low E and argon gas, which would help on the heating and cooling costs. It would also cover up, and it also costs quite a bit less. I would imagine that window's at least $1,200 a piece installed in someone's home. This one sells for about $350. So that's the other advantage, is that more people could afford to do this with this exact window.
Yes, I'm sure, but you're in a historic district here, a little different.
Big difference.
Sorry to disappoint.
So there's still a motion to table more, I believe.
Well, we can still, yeah, I still say we do that, and we still need to look at the windows, because if the owner goes with another,
Yeah, we'll have to, it would be tabled because we'll have to allow the owner, well, an opportunity to look at the existing windows and allow the owner the opportunity to come up with a game plan
But
themselves.
should we instead, since the request is to replace with white vinyl windows?
we can, you want to
does
make
it
a
not
motion?
I move that it be denied.
Okay,
Denied as submitted.
I'll second that.
Okay.
So do I have to redo mine first
Yeah,
one?
probably just, yes, be sure, be
I need
sure.
to go to the School of Robert's Rules of Order.
Yeah.
Okay,
Rick's original motion is still,
okay, so I withdraw my motion.
there you go.
Okay, I move that the application as submitted be denied.
Okay.
I second.
Any further discussion on that? It's pretty clear. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the motion passes for rejection of as submitted. So the owner will have to look at other option. Thank you, sir.
Now, Andy, you explained to David why this was denied, or?
The owner,
Uh-huh,
I'll probably give him a call.
yeah, okay.
And I explained it to him going into this. that
Okay.
It's
So
not a good chance, but we could try it.
And
Yeah,
I think if he does want us to view the windows that he's talking
Yeah.
about, we can still
Yes.
do that. But that would be certainly something that we'd want to do before another meeting.
yeah.
So on this next one, it's a tabled item. I think
Correct.
per Robert's rules, you need to vote to take it off the table
Ah.
and bring it back to this.
Okay.
on
Do we
the
have a,
floor for discussion.
Motion to bring 1018 Rivermont Avenue back in front of the commission.
So moved.
A second?
You want a second something?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. We will now hear from a representative from 1018 Rivermont Avenue.
And the
Maybe.
representative could not be here today. I spoke with him, and they were not ready to revise their application, and so he was comfortable with it being denied.
Okay.
Which one is this?
It's
The
the church, the signage on the
Sideways.
church. So he's okay with it being denied and then he'll
And
resubmit?
he'll resubmit. yeah.
Okay, very good.
So do we have to make a motion for that?
Yes. Mhm.
I move that it be denied as submitted.
Second.
No questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing none
Aye.
opposed, we show that
yeah, we're in
the
favor.
COA for 1018 Rivermont Avenue has been rejected as submitted.
We're in favor.
We'll look forward to hearing from them again in the future. Next, we can move on to 2001 Rivermont Avenue, but that was also tabled, so we need a motion to bring that back into the commission's view.
I move that the tabled item be brought back into motion.
Excellent. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Now we are ready to go. Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
All right. So let's go right ahead,
Do we have to
sir.
introduce ourselves again?
No.
No?
For the record.
For the record.
Regulars
Yeah,
here. Anna Chitla with Willoughby Properties.
Casey Service Architecture Design Office.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Of course, I'm missing the screen. So last month, we got I actually have it on the iPad. It just like, this program takes a while to switch between the different files. We left open 2 items, some proposed new windows on the gymnasium elevations, and the replacement of the existing windows on the gymnasium and school from the 1960s. So I guess let's start with the new windows in the gymnasium. I went back and looked at the elevations, took into consideration what you all recommended last month, and basically paired. But previously we had, for every structural bay, there were 2 windows that were centered within the bay, but had nothing to do with the existing clear story windows above. So here we just went down to 1 per bay and aligned it with one of the clear story bays of windows on either side, and then it's a casement with a fixed transom above to get a little extra light, and so the transom above is essentially the same size as the clear story above, with a larger casement panel below for
Was
So
a
it
good
says-
suggestion. I like the way it looks now, much better.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. Okay, it's too bad we didn't have these. Do you have the other one? Well, it doesn't matter. That looks much better.
I'll make sure I look at the same thing.
Page number 5 here.
Yeah.
These 2.
Yeah.
And was there windows on this one too before?
That's what I was going to ask on the unit that's at the far end. There is no window on that lower level?
You know what? I put a window on the back side
Oh, okay. Okay.
next to the same size as
Right there.
Oh,
Actually, a pair of
Around the
it's
other
basically
side.
2 around the corner.
okay, so this is the other side then? You've reduced those windows?
Yeah, they basically
Okay.
match. On that side,
Knocked it out for
the
some reason.
carriage house is.
I just like hit it and it went down to the little one.
Grief, man. This is unbelievable. There's so many pages that
I
it's
thought the
running
shift was
slow.
supposed to be easier.
Where is
I
it?
can't even get in mine.
Yeah. So on the rear side of the gym, the carriage house is closer, so there wasn't a room around the corner. I felt like you all would appreciate having fewer new windows on this main facade, so I basically took the 2
Oh, which,
that were there.
on the,
Which elevation is best?
That's the front. Yeah, that's the back.
This
Yeah.
one is the front.
Yeah. Then the next, and so they're each, that's the existing.
She's doing the same thing.
And
okay, so on the,
proposed, yeah.
on the west side elevation, what's changed there?
On the, they were the same. There are probably not quite half the windows. There were basically, for every 3 clear story windows above, there were 2
Yeah, now there's
new
one.
windows, and now there's
Yeah,
basically
so it's
1
just
for every
one.
3.
Yeah,
So
and
how
then
many,
more.
so how many were there originally on that
There were
facade?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There were 12. Now there are 6. So it is
Yeah,
half.
half.
All
And
right.
they're aligned with the clear story above instead of being.
Yeah,
sort
and it
of
looks
floating.
much better too.
Mhm.
You agree?
Mhm.
Okay, what else?
And then we submitted some detail elevations of the existing windows with basically what the frame lines of the proposed window, the same proposed windows that we had last month. It's not loading for me.
It's what you have.
Yeah, it's 3 sheets of that. So there's 3, there's 1 sheet showing existing and proposed next to each other for the classroom windows. There's 1 for the entry of the school,
Existing,
and there's 1 for the
proposed.
gymnasium.
So you expressed some concerns that the profile and the divisions be similar and asked for a side-by-side comparison of what we were
You
installing.
don't have do you have a cut section through those, by any chance?
I don't. There's definitely some differentiation between the two, but in general, in the profile, overall profile, they're the same. But I don't think they would.
And
100% match.
who's the manufacturer?
It's Conair.
Who?
Conair.
Okay, do you have a profile? I mean, I know you don't here, but can you provide one?
Yeah, we can provide.
Is that just a stock
It's a stock.
451?
Yeah, stock 451 frame. It's
Yeah.
it's rectangular
It's a
profile.
straightforward commercial.
Okay.
And for the gym, I think in terms of what was there before, it's fairly representative of what was there before. It was a commercial window. It was it's not a residential window
Yeah,
in its original life.
and same. I would say the same goes for the school too. I think they're both commercial
Now,
uses.
these awning windows, are those,
Yeah.
what's the material?
They're all metal.
And they're
I'm sorry,
awning-
which
awning
awning? The
windows.
proposed new with
The ones where three on top of one another?
yes, metal,
Those are aluminum clad? or-
aluminum.
Okay.
And they're awning windows, they're
Right.
So
operable.
they,
I saw that.
Yeah,
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's it. We included some renderings, which we talked a little bit about color last month, but Ann also said that that's a little bit on her plate more than.
If you guys believe they both meet the guidelines.
And so it's just, the renderings basically look at a dark option and a light option for,
And so what did we decide, or you decide, with we had a discussion with dark frames versus light frames.
we
We're
looked-
still agonizing.
Yeah, I did the renderings of the light frames, and we came into the last meeting, and Anna was adamant that she wanted the dark frames. And I showed her a rendering of the lighter frames, and she's like, I like those better. And then we were just looking at
Yes,
them again
those-
before the meeting.
those two renderings.
And she liked the dark frames
I'm back to the dark.
better. So, I think the answer
Keep
is,
Yeah, that's small.
if you all have a strong opinion one way or the other,
Make it small.
we would be okay with
It's
this.
that.
Looking like a school, which is interesting.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
lighter ones look much better.
The
See, we're talking about the gym.
Yeah, with the gym. Yeah,
Yeah, the
you see
lighter is
lighter
much,
I
much better.
like the
So
lighter
I
better.
am asking everyone for opinions, but I understand the color is my decision as long as I'm within the palette. So my struggle is the dark I like very much because initially I wanted to really make that part of the building disappear. And if you just take a look, Ann just showed, see, look at that. That just makes it fade and it will be camouflaged more with landscaping. Now, if you could do the white, it really pops and brings attention to it. So that's my
we have that
struggle,
one on
even
there?
though in and of itself, I like the white a little bit better. But in considering the whole concept for the property and the desire to minimize that part, I think dark might be optimal.
Does the Park Service have
Might have
anything?
a point.
You know, we,
Say again, Ann?
I was asking if the Park Service or
I
DHR.
don't
had
believe
anything.
we submitted a color yet they approved replacing the windows, but.
Do you know originally? I would have assumed they were light
They were.
originally.
Yeah,
And so to stay in that vocabulary, I would,
yeah. It's a little bit of a, the Park Service, we talked about this last month, the Park Service considers the school and gym to be non-contributing and gives us more flexibility. So we took the approach of, because we have that flexibility, let's accentuate the house and sort of try and push the school and gym to the background, but
But we're not voting on that anyway, right?
No.
If you guys say that they're both
No,
appropriate,
yeah.
then it's really up to the applicants, and I'll
Well-
approve administratively, whichever they choose.
And I asked
My
us-
personal opinion is I like on the gym, I think it looks much nicer with the white.
Yes.
On the other one, I understand what you mean, it does make it sort of disappear a little more on the front, but.
yeah. we had
It's
that
not
exact
really
same-
white, though, that color.
It's,
is
it would,
It's-
we would, our plan is to have the house windows be a white or like an antique white, and then these would be like the lighter gray to just, even if we keep them light, to push them back a little bit.
All right, I've moved that we approve the application as submitted.
Second.
Any other discussion? No? Hearing none, call for a vote. All those in favor of approval as submitted?
Aye.
All right.
Hearing none opposed?
Did-
That's good. Please.
Windows
Just a
repairable?
total separate question. You had the images before, that we just talked about, the previous ones that had the little,
The little arch, so the way those are built is it's basically a plywood
scrim?
scrim that
Oh,
comes
yeah.
down below the window head, and we'd like to just keep the window head where it is, but just go flat across, because it basically is just,
Yeah, it really is. It's just a piece of plywood. It's
Yeah.
Just
nothing
stuck up
more.
there.
yeah,
Ugly.
it just collects spider webs. And
Driving
it-
by every day, it has a nice, it's a nice dialogue between
The
those
yes.
windows and the house with its little Gothic.
And if we, you know, in the ideal world, if we could go in and like put in that flat arch in the window and have it there,
I mean, those
That'd be great,
plywood,
but-
those panels are in pretty good shape, aren't they?
it's a mix. Some of them are okay. Some of them are starting to delaminate. And honestly, the biggest thing there is we have some
Could do that.
intermediate structure that we'd like to get a good look at and make sure we're not, you know,
Covering up
missing-
something that's
not
rotting.
not having something covered up that we can't see. So I mean, that's where we're at.
So those windows that is going on, those are also Conair?
There would be, the idea is on that front, there are wood posts between each panel, and the wood would, like, it's basically window in, panels within a post.
Ah, I see.
And so the plan is to go back in with the aluminum window, but keep or replace in kind the wood trim between.
So in the new, there's a painted fiber cement siding.
The siding up above, but then also in the new, there's the verticals that go from the roof line to the brick knee wall are wood, and those would basically come out and then go back up.
And they're just painted.
They're just painted wood on top to help keep some of the.
Yeah, it would be wonderful if it were even a little thin aluminum that had that little Gothic tracery that was just
Yeah.
almost like a metal, just a little scrim screwed to it. It's just when you look at the big elevation and from the street, that tiny little detail really has a nice respect back to the original, some of the Gothic detailing in the original house.
That's a really good suggestion.
It's just something to
Well,
think about.
as we sort of pull it apart and,
Yeah,
and
I
get
think
in there
that-
and rebuild it,
Because
we'll
those
take a
could
look at
be,
that.
those could be stamped,
Yeah.
and it's just punk, 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 I'm like, what is it? 2, 3, for 10 of them? Yeah,
Yeah.
something that
I
might,
like that.
Yeah.
it'd be a nice little
Yeah.
detail that would add to the elegance.
I like that.
Anyway, that was,
Yeah.
it's not a part of today's application.
But thank you for that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Indeed, thank you all
Don't you
very
have a
much.
good window repairman working on the old house?
We do, and
Yeah.
we have windows that are just as rotten as those. And, you know, we just send all the pieces to the mill to,
Yeah.
you know, have a bunch of it milled.
So-
That we need to replace the bottom
She actually walked out
sashes
to
and-
try and give him his name, but he's
Yeah, I'd
stuck
like to
around
get
for
his
a while.
name.
Yeah, we missed each other, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So it is pricey.
Is
and-
he local?
Yeah.
He's between here and Richmond. He actually works for the general contractor, but largely, and he's smart and keeps him around because he's.
But he has a apartment
Yeah,
here, so,
yeah.
because he spends most of his time in Lynchburg.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, he did all the windows on the Piedmont Flour Mill.
So
Oh,
that's
wow.
a fourth
Yeah.
guy now, so that's, you know, so.
Yeah.
I know
Need their
three.
contact information, I'll
as
for our
a,
list of
I will ask him if he
If he
wants
wants
that, then yes.
Very good, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's see,
Get out of,
back to my
I
agenda.
have to go over there a few times and
Come on,
get his name.
yeah, I can get out of, this one doesn't want to let go.
what?
I'm
Oh,
can't
you're-
get out of this
can't get out
COA
of it.
back to,
Let's see, I don't think, we don't have any,
That was all the action items.
All the
I
action
wanted
items.
to go into a discussion about our discussion earlier, Chris.
oh, right. So we had some discussion earlier, I wanted to get everybody else's opinion on it for, with regard to how we have conducted, or we kind of gravitated towards a heavy use of this established applications committee over the past several years. I guess it was more in place before I even got here, 3.5, 4 years ago. But it seems a little more frequent that we've had more, I don't know, not necessarily animosity, but the way that we've conducted it is we review the applications in a small group in the meeting. There's some whispering and discussion about it, even though it's part of the public meeting. She's taking notes about it and then takes a statement from us saying that it's either yes or no in our little private discussion. And if a property owner hears no, or there's a lot of questions about it, when they come up, they're already on the defensive. We did a little bit of research and finding that more HPCs outside of the Lynchburg area have a tendency to not necessarily have a applications committee conducting business like that. And more so, everybody make sure you read all your action items, review the properties as best you can on your own. Then we come in and we have a discussion with the property owner for the first time about it, as opposed to putting them in maybe an awkward or challenging
It's
situation.
important for the applicant to hear the entire discussion about
Right.
their application, rather than come in and that there's already a recommendation on the table.
Right.
So I think they need to be part of it all the way through.
The only problem I see with this is that if no one is on the recommendation committee, when you're not on the recommendation committee, you have less tendency to actually go out to those jobs and really look at them. When you're on the applications committee, which of course is what I do, I really make sure I'm out there and I look at them. And a lot of other people on, that, just on the board
Yeah.
won't necessarily do that. And I think if everyone is in that position,
And think
Like I,
that's
for
why
one-
we have the advocates.
See,
in every district, actually, so you have your advocates who will actually go to the
Well,
application if
that-
it's within their district.
well, so that's the difference. Now, if you do away with it, then there's gonna have to be, you're gonna have to make sure someone goes and looks at each one of these properties. And I guess what you said, if, we'll all have to be designated areas, so if this property is in your neighborhood or your neighborhood, wherever you are, that person is responsible for looking at it, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But someone has to look at these and scrutinize them.
Yeah, I think when I first came on the board, that's the way it was done. I think we had adhered to the advocates per neighborhood a lot more strictly than,
So you'd
and
be
then it
going
just sort of
from-
gravitated into the applications committee was handling all of that.
So basically, we'd be saying, instead of you saying, do we have a recommendation from the recommendation committee, you'd be saying, do we have a recommendation from the advocate?
From the
for that
advocate that
neighborhood?
reviewed,
Yes, and they would have to be,
Or you could have,
or
general
it could just
discussion,
general
anybody
discussion,
can make a
yeah.
recommendation.
Anybody can make a
yeah, anybody can make a
Anybody.
recommendation,
Yeah.
but, then, technically, we should all go to these sites and all see it.
Yeah.
And maybe we just need to make sure that we all do this,
Right.
and very, diligent about it. So that's my only comment. I mean, we got to make sure that if we don't have applications committee, that everyone goes and looks at all these
Right.
jobs, whether they're an advocate or not. They have to look at them.
And it's helpful that we get the information early.
Sure.
the way
So,
you're sending it now.
And that's
It's-
the way we,
yeah.
I mean, we shortened the application period recently to make
Yeah.
it more friendly for the applicants. So that means you guys get your information 1 week ahead of time, and that
And-
hopefully is plenty of time.
And another thing, I think that if someone brings an application in and it's about windows, this obviously is a very contentious subject, and I apologize if I got a little hot-headed, but I've seen this house, and, there's nothing left to this house inside. There's
Yeah.
nothing historic left. It's completely gutted. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. But I think when it comes to windows, we have to see them. So from now on, I think if someone comes in with a window application, you need to say, when could this be viewed? And everyone has to go in there, which means there'd have to be what? I mean, we can go in pairs, and
I'm not
there's,
sure it's realistic that everybody is gonna go inside.
Right.
well, maybe
Two.
for that one, it would be the advocate for that neighborhood and
Mhm.
an architect. So it'd either be him or I would have to go in and investigate these windows. So it could be the advocate, and, so that would be two people. That make sense?
It does.
Absolutely. That works for you guys. So this was actually in the context of a much larger discussion that Chris and I had about kind of goals for the upcoming year. So I actually want to hand out these brochures that I send out to every new owner in for the historic districts. And I want to update it, so I want to get you guys to give me some feedback on what information really needs to be in there.
Been working, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, put Chris to work. And then I just had some other goals to, update our application. I want to make sure that you guys are getting the information you need to review and make a recommendation in a meeting.
As detailed as
Rather than
possible.
have to table them. I know that one with the patio today was probably a little lacking.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to kind of standardize what needs to be submitted. I'm sure this has been attempted in the past.
Yeah, that would have
It's
been, that's a
very
good one.
difficult.
That's a good one right there. That guy should have, if he's saying he wants a rail, he had nothing to
He didn't
represent.
tell us what
and
rail.
obviously didn't
Yeah.
understand what the big ordeal
Right, and
was.
I really should have asked for it with the application, but, they piled up and I needed to get them out the door. What else? I want to keep a running list of what you guys find is kind of deficient in the guidelines. Maybe I find that information more often than you guys if I'm doing administrative reviews. Specifically, the paint color section is tough to interpret, because it's very vague and limited.
Yeah.
So any kind of ideas you guys have on how to kind of improve our function as the HBC would be really helpful.
Colors are always gonna be difficult because, they're all over the place. So I think that's just one of those things you just got to look at it and say, you know what? Yeah, that's,
Right.
it's not exactly what the guidelines say, but it's acceptable.
And I'm used to working in the land of the objective, that the guidelines say blue, okay, you can do blue. But, neon blue is probably not acceptable.
Right.
So I've got to, figure that one out.
I think didn't we just do it last week where they were kind of in reverse, but we still approved it.
That administratively, yeah, so that is something that I have on my list that we need to look at again in the guidelines, is these houses that have darker trim or darker bodies and lighter trims. Really, the guidelines say they should have lighter bodies and darker trims.
Right.
But
But,
both are probably okay.
right,
So
that's
the
exactly what
guidelines
I'm,
need,
that's
should
exactly what I'm
probably be
talking about.
revised.
Yeah.
And the reality, in the old world of reversible,
Mhm.
paint's easy to change
Correct.
if they do it this way, but it should be that way. Is it,
It's not, yeah.
I mean, Department of Historic Resources is fairly lenient on colors.
Which I think we should be too.
Exactly. That's my bottom line point.
Yeah.
is-
Who was involved with were you all here when we spent that entire summer doing a work team? Were either one of you on at that time? Probably not. I guess that was Kay Butterfield and, were you
If
here?
were here when
We
you
did
guys
that
last
whole-
looked at the guidelines.
I mean, it was an entire summer of work sessions that we did on rewriting
yeah.
the guidelines for color per type of home. And all that information got lost, unfortunately.
And it took forever to do this, and it was like back and forth, and still,
Yeah, so whether or not we
Co-
would
colors
need to
can
go
be
through
ch-
that process or,
colors can be changed.
Super subjective.
Yeah.
They're subjective. Windows are not. You know, porches are not.
Right.
Rails are not.
Mhm.
So.
Right, so when I look at them, the important thing I see is that the body and trim are different, and that
Mhm.
maybe there's an accent color.
Mhm.
That's mainly what I'm looking at, and then, you know, it's not something totally loud and garish, you know, neon yellow.
Yeah, I think there was, before you, there was the house on, it's either Harrison or Madison, and they painted it like purple almost, like
Yeah.
violet or something.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, whoa.
Okay, so other things just coming down the pipe is I'm gonna make sure we get our bylaws updated,
Mhm.
so those will be coming hopefully for next meeting, and then I'm also looking at different trainings for the HPC. DHR offers trainings for HPC, Historic Preservation Commissions, and we're actually required to go to them every so often.
You get
So I need to
AIH.
make sure
Is there
that we're
a,
staying up on our.
I meant to ask you that today. Is there a guideline as far as the duration
I think
between?
It's within a 3-year period.
Oh,
so-
okay,
And I know
okay.
there was one a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Lynchburg.
But it may be about time, or it may
Yeah.
have been 2 years ago, maybe 3, I don't know. It was-
Right.
I think it
Find
was
find out
two.
2
find
years.
out when you do that, if you can get any educational credits, you know, for like architects.
Continuing education. Okay.
Can always self-report, Richard.
All
Counts.
right.
How do you do your credits?
But a combination of,
You know, we have them all the time up at Architectural Apartments.
yeah,
Hmm.
You know, little lunch things.
Mhm.
we do the same.
Lunch and learn sort of things.
Lunch and learn.
Mhm. Okay.
That's all I had for you guys.
All
right.
All right, I don't think I have anything else. Well, thank you all for being here. Meeting would be adjourned until September, what would be that date? 17th? September 17th is the next meeting.
Is meeting adjourned?
Thanks all. Mm-hmm.